So I ended up on the side of Twitter where TradCon men keep shitting on TradCon women. And it has been so amusing. These TradCon men are doing more to push women into feminism than feminist history could ever do. And I am thoroughly amused. So this trad comment, J-Day, he says men are finally saying, and I would push back on this because I would say that they've been saying, men are finally saying no single mothers, no high body count, no feminism, even if you scream with all your lungs that you're not a feminist while you look and act like a feminist. And conservative women are somehow hit hardest by this. I'm confused. I'm confused as well, J-Day. I have no idea why any sensible woman that has a brain would be amongst people like you. And a person like this is, these are the same talking points. The manosphere, the red pill, evangelicals, all of these people say the exact same thing. They have one set of talking points and they disseminate them to all these peen hackers. They say the exact same thing. The slight variation, maybe slight punctuation variance, but that's it. They say the same thing. Women with brains, why do you associate with conservatives? Why? Why do you have an if you have an opinion and you type it on Twitter and you want to vote and you want to have a bank account, why do you associate with people like this? If you have a brain of your own and you're not a robot, why do you associate with these types? Okay, so Sarah says to Jay Noble, right wing women and feminists aren't trying to force you to date anyone. That's your own coon brained fantasy of finally being wanted. You're the ones trying to remove the rights of feminists, single moms, and high body count women so that they'll be forced to settle for you. Laughing my butt off. And Jay Day says, women don't have the right to a man. If this culture shift continues, these types of women will just die alone because no one of actual worth will settle for them, actually. That's my only point. Now, these men are failing and flailing. They really keep saying these same things while women are actively saying, okay, bet, I'm going to just leave y'all alone. Women are saying, we hear you. We're just going to not have kids. We're not going to get married. We don't want to date you. We don't want relationships with you. And we're not going to have babies. And the men are like, that's why we're not going to date you. It's just like, y'all not listening. Some of the quote retweets, Louise says, it's actually hilarious how much men overestimate their sexual market value. Every dating app is a sausage fest. Studies show that twice as many men as women are seeking relationships, and they still live in this delusion that they are the ones rejecting us. Southside Tilly says it's very clear that men are losing their minds. So I'm renewing my request to conservative women. Let's work together on women's issues. So she's trying to she's trying to pull in more conservative women. Anna Feminista says women don't give a mate. They genuinely think women are out here trying to date men like these. There are more of you in the dating market compared to women. You all bring nothing but pain and misery everywhere you go. Nito says this is the best comment on the topic of tradcon feminism right now. So he agrees with J Day. And Courtney Kirchhoff, this is the woman that I'm about to highlight. She is a former TradCon woman. She says, you're allowed to like what you like, just leave us alone. Why is it so hard for you super logical, unemotional leaders to understand? Now, Courtney also follows me. So when she's talking about super logical, unemotional leaders, that kind of sounds like what I've been saying. But let's talk a little bit more about Courtney. I was talking to her in my inbox yesterday, and she let me know that I was on track with talking about how these trad men are pushing women into being feminists and pushing them more liberal. She says, so basically, you're pretty on target with the tradcon to rad feminist cycle. There are a lot of women like myself who cringed at third wave feminists and distanced ourselves from feminism as a whole, who are now exploring feminist ideas. I'm going to skip down to the bottom. She says, I used to write for Louder with Crowder, even appeared on the show a few times. I knew and worked with Steven Crowder and know Hillary. She says, the number of women who are waking up to all of this, thanks to men exposing who they really are, is insane. I think we're just getting started too. Women like me are ticked off about it. Many of us ran to the men's defense time and again, and now we feel completely abandoned. I feel like there are some pretty big TradCon lady accounts that are also on the verge of shifting to radical feminism. Okay, so Courtney wrote a whole blog post on her Substack. It's titled How I Turned from TradCon into a Radical Feminist. She says this is a column that the 2015 Courtney never would have imagined writing. So we're going to get into some of this. I'm not going to do the whole thing. If you're on my YouTube page, I'm just going to link her essay or her article. She says, while it's been years since I Googled myself, I have to imagine that if I were to peck my name into the search bar, I'd be met with hundreds, if not thousands, of articles written from a conservative perspective. Of those articles and columns, a good chunk are surely mocking blue haired land whales, screaming about the patriarchy and grape culture lurking around every Disney princess. Mocking third wave feminism was my bread and butter. I delighted in skewering the silly ladies who thought that running marathons while free bleeding was brave. I giggled at any opportunity to festoon fat feminists who whined about beauty standards that wouldn't accommodate their expanding waistlines. And most of all, I trolled men in dresses who assured me they were more ladylike than me since they looked more like Barbie than I did. She says, I walk absolutely nothing of my criticisms of the crazier elements of third wave feminism, especially those who invited it into the orbit of the wolves in sheepskin clothing, the trans women, and I believe that much of third wave feminism was complete clownery, a way to bitch and complain about fake traumas in order to keep hold of a victimhood trophy. I wanted and still want no part of it. I believe then, as I believe now, that good men exist and the world is a better place when we work together. I saw no way to walk hand in hand with good men while screechy women who made their whole personalities their lack of hygiene and hatred of men tried to speak for all womankind and trash all of mankind. However, she says, I slowly awoke to too many truths of original feminism that were buried underneath layers of cheap and silly third wave fat pride flavored of feminism. I saw over the years the tenets of the OG feminism rise to the surface in concert with men who equated feminism with women who revealed themselves to be actual sexists who not only hated feminists, third wave or otherwise, but women in general. As they showed their true colors, I had to re examine my stance against the feminist crazies I had long fought. Okay, so she continues towards the middle. She says, I received so many comments and letters from men who felt victimized by these third wave gremlins, thanking me for seeing them for the gentlemen they were. Those same types of men seemed to disappear around 2018, the dawn of the Me Too movement, when women in the USA, but globally, I'm sorry, especially, but globally, shared their stories of sexual harassment, assault, and misconduct. That for me is where the shift began. She says, for the record, not one man has asked me the simple question, Courtney, why are you more feminist now? Not a single one. I have been accused of being more anti man, but the follow up question is, why is that? Never happened. That, I'd argue, is part of the greater problem. I noticed men didn't ask me, they didn't want to hear my experience. I was and still am largely dismissed by men for my entire lived female experience, even though I had a pedigree of bashing feminists, of standing up for good men. My background, my history, my entire life of being a woman was written off if I had something to say about how some men treat women. Then I was told that I didn't understand. Okay, I want to say of this woman, she sounds like she got her wake up call, and she does still pedestalize certain women above others. She's on a journey. I completely understand some women to her are more deserving of criticism than others. You can hear it in some of this blog post. And everybody is on their own journey. I was once a pick me woman. I talk about the fact that I am a reformed pick me, but now I am pro woman. And, I just want to share even if these types, even if the trad content radical feminist types are not exactly in alignment to how we speak over in my network, they're on their own particular journey. And these trad con men are pushing these women over to the feminist category. Anyways, y'all can read the rest of her thing and like, comment, and